Nation, and welcome to the show where we help you to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander Cheapskate, and we are back with another episode of Way of the Underhive. This series is dedicated to helping brand new players to Necromunda build their starting rosters and learn more about the game mechanics of their favorite gangs. And on today's episode, we will discuss playing a Corpse Guild Outcast Gang in the Aranthian Succession. We will discuss the benefits of playing in the Aranthian Succession, as well as feature the gang's unique attributes. We'll provide a 2,400 point starting roster that you can use in your very fast campaign. We'll demonstrate how you'll play this gang on the tabletop by going over tabletop tactics and provide tips on how to develop this gang as your campaign progresses. Now, because this video is a little more of a deeper dive, I will put timestamps down in the description box down below so that way you can click and navigate to the part that interests you the most. So why would you want to play the Corpse Guild? And the reason why you might want to do that is for a couple of reasons. One, because grimdark is not grim enough. It is not dark enough, it is not moody enough, it's just sunshine and rainbows as far as you're concerned. Also, Soylent Green is people. If you ever watched that film Soylent Green, you know exactly what we're talking about with the corpse grinders, because blonde shih tzu is also a really cool idea, and you really like that whole aesthetic going on with your gang, and plus because the miniatures are also beautiful as well. In fact, when it comes to the Corpse Guild, these guys are the optimal combination of beautiful miniatures with a really grimdark backstory. Corpse grinders, what they do is that they take the bodies of the dead and they process into corpse starch, which they also use to sell to feed the masses of Necromunda. It also sometimes happens that these workers in the Corpse Guild do go a little insane, and that's where the corpse grinder cults come from. And that's another interesting thing about these gangs as well. So let's go ahead and talk about exactly why you want to play the Corpse Guild in your campaigns of Necromunda. So one of the things, of course, is that being in the Aranthian Succession, you get anywhere between 2,000 and 2,400 credits in order to start your gang. If you're staying exclusive in the Underhive, you only get 2,000 credits, but if you're venturing out to the Ash Waste, you get additional 400 credits for mounted fighters as well as for vehicles. Now, another nice thing about the Aranthian Succession as well is that you can also double the number of champions that you have in your gang as well. And so because you can create some really awesome, really cool effects as well as really cool lists that are quite unique that you haven't really seen all that much on the tabletop. Now, with those double number of champions, you do, of course, have to balance out the rest of your gang with Gang Fighter X characters in order to make that gang composition, but it's a really neat game mechanic that you could actually use in your gangs. Now, unfortunately for a lot of players, when they see this increase of champions as well as fighters as well as credit limits, a lot of brand new players believe that they have to do is double the size of their current existing gang, but you don't need to do that. In the Aranthian Succession, I highly suggest that you just start with the normal amount of gangers you'd always have in a gang, but you just spend at what I like to call a quality of build rather than a quantity of build, which basically means you give them better weapons, better armor, better war gear, exotic beasts, upgrades, things that you would not normally start off with in a campaign. Just really flesh out your gang to be able to make them take on anything that they might run into in the Ash Waste and in the Underhive. So some of the unique attributes of the Corpse Guild is that, unfortunately, like Jeremy Soul Patch Simmons said it best in the episode of Community, it's all sizzle, no steak, unfortunately. While the miniatures are absolutely fantastic, their stats are less than desirable, and unfortunately, if you want to make a Corpse Guild gang, using the Corpse Guild delegation might be kind of a handicap for you to actually use that because of the horrible stats they have. However, with that being said, though, they do have some really good, powerful close combat fighters that you guys can actually maximize in your gang with some of the equipment lists that they got. And in order to help kind of balance this, we're going to find a workaround by using a Dramatis Personae to actually be the leader of your gang, which is really going to help balance out a lot of horrible stats that the Corpse Guild delegation actually starts off with. I will warn you, this list is actually a very aggressive playstyle list, so if you're not really into aggressive gameplay or actually doing a lot of close combat, this list might not be for you. But with that being said, let's talk about exactly what this list will consist of. So let's go and talk about the Corpse Guild Outcast Gang starting roster for the Aranthian Succession. This list will be valued at 2,400 points and is using the current Aranthian Succession rules in order to create it. So let's go and start off by talking about your leader. So your Outcast leader will be the Eightfold Harvest Lord, the Dramatis Personae Bounty Hunter. He will be the Outcast leader for this gang. He's going to cost you 280 credits for this fighter. So let's talk about why. So granted, this guy is a member of the Corpse Grinder cult. Now normally only Corpse Grinder cults will be able to recruit this character, but because we're an Outcast gang, we can actually use this guy as our gang leader as well. And we're just going to pretend that this guy was a normal worker at the Corpse Guild before he went, full-blown crazy with the Corpse Grinder cults, and this is back when he was just kind of a little bit crazy. Now you're gonna give this guy the Survivor archetype, and you're gonna give this guy the Butcher's Mask, which automatically comes with. You're also gonna purchase armor undersuit for this character, and this person automatically comes with plate mail armor, paired heavy chain cleavers, as well as a fighting knife, which is all kinds of hilarious, as well as a Corpse Grinder cult icon. You're also gonna purchase this guy photo goggles, as well as a respirator. And he comes with the skills Avatar Blood, Killing Blow, Slaughterborn, and because he's a Survivor archetype, you're giving this guy Nerves of Steel. Now, the Eightfold Harvest Lord is an absolute beast of a character. With his Slaughterborn rule, every single time he inflicts a wound, he can actually increase his movement characteristic by 1, so this guy can be wicked fast, really fast as well. At the same time, with Killing Blow, he can trade all of his attacks for one single attack that has double strength and damage, as well as no armor saves, which could really wreck face on your enemies as well. Avatar Blow will actually let this guy kind of heal up as well as he's charging around. The only real weakness that the Eightfold Harvest Lord has, besides a lack of shooting attacks, is that he was always constantly being pinned, because with any Corpse Grinder character, if you pin these guys, they can't charge at you because it takes a dual action to pin, it takes a basic action to stand back up again. However, this guy has a 5+ cool, which means that if you give this guy the Survivor archetype and Nerves of Steel, he will be escaping pinning 83% of the time. So if he manages to get pinned, just take a quick cool test, this guy will get back on his feet again, no problem, charge forward and wreck face. Not to mention, this guy also has a Corpse Grinder cult icon, which means that all fighters within 6 inches of him can add D3 to their movement until the end of the round. If you pair this up with your Assault Fire teams are going to be extremely deadly as well. This guy is a one-man army. He takes point, he destroys, he slices people apart with his pair of heavy chain cleavers, which have sever, so if you manage to put an injury on the guy, they automatically go out of action. This guy is a monster. Not to mention, your opponents will have to take a willpower test to even shoot at this guy or even to attack him in close combat. So this guy is absolutely fantastic, and this is the workaround we're going to use because of the fact that the delegation is not very good for this gang. Now, they're going to have 2 Outcast Champions as well. Outcast Champion number 1 is going to cost 255 credits. This fighter's got the Gunslinger archetype with an armored undersuit as well as mesh armor for that 4-up armor save. They're also packing a harpoon launcher as well, with a subgun with dum-dum rounds as a backup weapon. They also have photo goggles so that way they can see in the dark, and you're giving this the guy the fast shot ability. Outcast Champion number 2 is going to cost 285 credits. This fighter's also the Gunslinger archetype as well, with armored undersuit and mesh armor for that 4-up armor save. This guy is packing a flamer for those wonderful template weapons, and he's also got a stub gun with dum-dum rounds as well as photo goggles, as well as the hip shooting ability. Now, the nice thing about the champion number 1 is that he can actually shoot twice with the harpoon launcher, and the reason why you can do that with fast shot is because even though the harpoon launcher is a heavy weapon, it doesn't have the unwieldy trait, which means you can fire twice with that weapon as well, which is all kinds of fun. You can also use your guy champion number 2 to do some really deep assaults on the flank using hip shooting, so that way you can move twice with champion number 2 and then fire the flamer. Now, you do suffer -1 to hit penalty as doing that, but because it's a template weapon, it doesn't matter. So long as under the template, it's automatically hit as well. Now, the nice thing about this is that you can disrupt your enemy fighters with the blaze trait, and you can also flank your enemy and fully envelop them with harpoon fire as well. And at the same time, you take these champions and pair them with a pair of shotgun wielding hive scum, and they actually become really dangerous on the battlefield. Then you have 2 more champions, Outcast Champion number 3 and 4. They both cost exactly the same at 185 credits apiece. Both are equipped exactly the same with mutant archetypes, so that way they can purchase mutations for themselves. They have armored undersuits as well as mesh armor for that 4-up armor save. They're packing chain axes because those weapons are amazing, and stub guns with dum-dum rounds as well. They also have photo goggles so that way they can see in the dark, and you're giving the vast bulk mutation, so that way you add 1 extra wound to these guys, so they're having 3 wounds on their characteristic. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to pair these fighters with the Eightfold Harvest Lords we're going to do, and they're going to have 3 wounds because of the mutations that they also have as well. What you want to do is focus on bronze skills like bulging biceps to add additional attacks like another chain axe or a chain sword for parry as well. So if you want to, you could actually give them like something like a chain glaive with a chain axe, and that'd be like really super deadly combination for these guys. They'll be able to take full advantage of the Eightfold Harvest Lord's group activation, as well as they also benefit from the D3 additional movement added to their characteristic from the Corpse Grinder cult icon as well. So these guys kind of act as the as another assault team as well as bodyguards for your Eightfold Harvest Lord. Now, then you're also going to have 2 Outcast Hive Scum. Number 1's going to cost you 115 credits. This guy's got mesh armor as well as a chain glaive. He's also packing a stub gun round with dum-dum rounds as well as a photo goggle. This guy will be used for close combat with that chain glaive weapon, which you'll be able to purchase because of the delegation from the Corpse Grinder cult. Corpse Grinders. Corpse Guild. Sorry about that. At the same time, you're also going to have a recruit hanging around with. That's going to recruit a Chem dealer for 50 credits. This guy's have a stub gun with a fixer skill as well as steady supply special rule. Now, you're going to pair your Hive Scum with your Eightfold Harvest Lord to act as kind of a bodyguard or sword, kind of protect them from being outflanked for the most part. Your Chem deal, however, you're going to use to buy stem slug stashes, bio boosters, spur to get faster movement allowance, friends on, and other chems to boost your fighters. The steady supplies can be really nice because all your chems automatically become common items, and you can definitely use those chems to kind of help boost your gang and make them even more deadly than they already are. Afterwards, you're going to recruit 2 more Hive Scum, number 2 and 3. They're both equipped exactly the same at 150 credits apiece. Both have mesh armor with chain swords, as well as stub gun with dum-dum rounds, also packing blasting charges for grenades, as well as photo goggles, so that way they can see in the dark. Now, you're going to pair these fighters with Outcast Champions number 3 as well as number 4. These guys are going to be throwing blasting charges and finishing off the enemies in close combat with their chain swords, as well as their stub guns. So, a very deadly pair of Outcast Hive Scum. And then you'll recruit 2 more Outcast Hive Scum, Outcast Scum number 4 and 5. Both these guys will cost 100 credits apiece. Both will have mesh armor for that 5-up armor save. They're also packing shotguns with scalar and solid ammo for that close range shooting. They also got stub gun with dum-dum rounds for backup weapons, as well as smoke grenades so to throw smoke screens to protect your advance towards your enemy. Now these fighters should be paired up with your Outcast Champion number 1 and 2. Those guys are armed with the flamer as well as the harpoon launcher. Their shotguns are good for close quarters combat as well as using for the flanks. And use those smoke grenades in order to cover your advance on the flanks as well, so that way you can track your enemy and destroy them that way. And of course, you're going to have one vehicle for this gang, which is going to be a Guild of Coin Hauler. This guy's going to cost 545 credits. He's going to be equipped with photo goggles so you can see in the dark, and you're going to equip this guy with a Guild of Coin Chronos Pattern Iron Crawler that is tracked. It's also got a large transport cage in the back with 5 firing points that you guys can shoot out of. It has a blade of armor as well as crash cage, so that way if you get anything more than a non-glancing hit to the body or for the crew, you can re-roll the result. Also weapon stash and help out the guys with the blasting charges, as well as the guy armed with a harpoon launcher and maybe the flamer as well. A redundant drive system as well as an engine shell to help with any non-glancing hits to the drive as well as the engine. Now this is a literal tank to protect your fighters. This way you'll be able to reroll all non-glancing hits for the first time for all areas of your vehicle to make it extremely survivable. You'll also use the weapon stash to re-equip your heavy weapons if you run out of ammo as well. I would suggest purchasing the maximum amount of weapons for this vehicle as soon as possible, like the grenade launcher as well as the heavy stubber, so that way you have some good heavy weapon fire that you can lob towards your enemies. Now, at the same time, you're going to make an alliance with the Corpse Guild. And the reason why is because this is a Corpse Guild Outcast gang. You're not using the delegation to make the full core of your gang, so you will be able to use your Corpse Guild order to help you out. The benefits, of course, you get one called Extra Corpse Starch Rations, which basically is when you're rolling on the lasting injury tables, you may re-roll it. But if the second attempt is worse than the first, you have to accept it, so do keep that in mind. We also have another benefit called This One's Still Moving, and that means you roll a d6 for any fighter that went out of action and suffered a critical injury. On a 6, that fighter suffered a memorable death and is claimed by the Corpse Grinders. Any weapons and war gear is then granted to your gang as if the Corpse Grinders had fought for it. So that's what you get for that one. And of course, we have the Corpse Harvesting Delegation. If playing looters, smash and grab, caravan heist, or the escort mission as a defender, then the delegation must be included unless you, of course, feel like testing the alliance. Now, there are some drawbacks for this. First of all, you have guard duty, which means you must roll a d6 when choosing a scenario. On a roll of 1 through 3, you must either play looters, smash and grab, caravan heist, or escort mission as the defender. You could, of course, ignore this if you want to, but then again, if you do that, you do have to test the alliance, so do keep that in mind. You also have another drawback called Meat for the Grinders, and which basically says before any medical escort mission, one random fighter who suffered a critical injury is removed from your gang's rosters as if they had died. You could, of course, ignore this rule, but if you do so, then you must test the alliance as well. And of course, you will also get access to the Corpse Harvesting Party. You have the Pale Consort. She's got mesh armor, a last pistol and fighting knife, Metaskull, Respirator, Fearsome, as well as the Overseer skill. She's actually quite not as good. She's actually quite useless, actually, all things considered. That Overseer skill is kind of nice because then she can activate her Corpse Grinders and make them a little bit more deadly. But other than that, though, not much really going there. Same thing with the Bone Screamer. He's got a stiletto knife as well as a gun skull. He's also got a Respirator and a cult icon for larger group activation, and he has the Fearsome skill as well, which means that even though that's nice to keep him a little bit more survivable, his stats are absolutely horrible. Plus, he has no really good shooting attacks, so there's also that problem too. Now, the blue chip guys in this alliance, however, are your 2 Corpse Grinders. These guys have flak armor for that 6-up armor save. They're also packing chain glaives. They have that really powerful strength attack, and they have crushing blow, which means that one of their attacks even gets more benefits on top of that. Now, these guys will form their own assault fire team in order to support your main attack. However, though, there is a problem. Eventually, you will have enough reputation points where you will outgrow this group, which is kind of tragic because these miniatures are actually quite beautiful. I would normally suggest using these guys as a delegation gang and using these guys as a carving gang, but your gang is not very strong if you do that. And I had one hell of a time trying to figure out how to make these guys more viable when I was looking at it. So, whereas using the 8-fold Carver's Lord was a much better alternative for your gang. Alright, so let's go and talk about the tabletop tactics for your Corpse Guild gang on this one. So here we have our 4x4 table, of course. Your entire gang is going to be mounted on the Iron Crawler. Your Iron Crawler is going to consist of Assault Fire Team number 1, which consists of your Outcast Champion number 3 and 4. These are two guys armed with chain axes as well as mutations. You're also pairing up Hive Scum number 2 and 3 with these guys, which the guys are armed with chain swords as well as blasting charges. Assault Fire Team number 2 is going to consist of your Outcast Champion number 1. That's the guy armed with a harpoon launcher as well as a Hive Scum who's also armed with the shotgun with smoke grenades. Assault Fire Team number 3 consists of your second Outcast Champion number 2, which is the guy's armed with a flamer, also packed with a Hive Scum guy who's carrying a shotgun as well as smoke grenades as well. And then of course you have your Corpse Guild, will make its own fire team, which consists of your Pale Consort as well as your Bone Scrivener as well as Corpse Grinder number 1 and 2. And then you're also going to include your Hive Scum number 1, which is the guy armed with a chain glaive as well as your leader, which is the Eightfold Harvest Lord. Now all these guys will start mounted up in the vehicle, and you're going to head to your vehicle and head directly towards your enemy as quickly as possible. Now, when you get within range, what's going to happen is this. The Iron Crawler is going to pull up, and then your Assault Fire teams basically dismount for the most part, is what they end up doing. So what ends up happening is Assault Fire Team number 2 and 3 to basically depart on either side of it with your Outcast Champions laying down suppressive fire as well as blasting, as well as shotgun fire from their weapons, as well using smoke grenades in order to cover up their enemy advances. While that's occurring, Assault Team Fire Team number 1 goes to the far left flank and starts maneuvering towards the enemy. That's your Outcast Champion number 3 and 4 who are armed with chain axes as well as their stub guns, alongside with their Hive Scum who are armed with the chain swords as well as blasting charges. They're going to flank around the enemy to try to get around them. At the same time, your Corpse Guild, supported by both your Eightfold Harvest Lord as well as your Hive Scum armed with a chain glaive, they're also going to try to flank around the right hand side as well, so that way you can catch your enemy in a full envelopment. In fact, this is what it's going to look like by the time you actually get done with it. What's going to happen is you're going to charge in your Assault Fire Teams number 1 and 2 directly into one enemy fire team, opening fire with blasting charges as well as close combat attacks to finish off this way. Assault Fire Team number 3 is going to attack this second enemy fire team over here alongside your Eightfold Harvest Lord as well as your Hive Scum, and then your Corpse Guards are going to charge forward as well. The Bone Scrivener will group activate these guys with the cult icon to send both of them in, and your Pale Consort will then use Overseer on either one of these Corpse Grinders, so that way they can activate twice and finish over your opponent. And then after you're being charged from 2 different directions with your Iron Crawler rolling up forward and running anybody who's left alive as well, it's going to destroy your enemy and catch them in a full envelopment and destroy them all to the last man. Now lastly, as your gang develops, as the campaign goes through it, the first thing you want to do, of course, is to purchase chems for your gangs. Things like Stim Select Stashes, Bio Boosters, Spur, Friends On, and other chems that can help your gang to be really deadly. Using that chem dealer is going to make all those chems common items, so that way you can easily buy these things for your gang and make them deadlier as well. I also suggest you also engrave your change weapons for close combat, things like chain glaives, for example. If you're able to get off the bulging biceps skill for your champions, you can give them both a chain axe and a chain glaive, so that they can go with both weapons in close combat, which could be really cool as well. I always suggest you also get weapons for your Iron Crawler as soon as possible as well. Things like heavy stubbers as well as grenade launchers would be really deadly for this gang and make them even tougher. And of course, unfortunately, you will eventually outgrow the delegation because you'll have enough reputation points where they won't help you anymore, but unfortunately that's just the way it kind of goes with this gang. So in conclusion, the Corpse Guild is actually quite interesting with their beautiful miniatures, but unfortunately, even though they're beautiful, they're kind of lacking in substance for the most part. I'm still trying to piece together how I can make this delegation more competitive as time goes on. If I do find anything interesting or do figure out something else later on down the line, I will of course make another video where we just use the Corpse Grinder delegation as the core of the gang, if we can manage to swing it as well. Even though we're not able to use the delegation as the core of this gang though, it's still a very brutal list, especially using that Eightfold Harvest Lord in order to chop up your opponents. And as always, if you guys have any suggestions for some interesting builds that you would like to see, please put it down in the comment box down below, and I will endeavor to make a video using that recommendation to make that list. So that's going to do it for those of you guys. As always, please feel free to like, comment, and or subscribe. Your guys' input is invaluable to us as always. Also check us out on Facebook, Instagram, as well as blog.com for all the latest greatest hobby news related to this channel. That's good for this one, you guys. We'll catch you guys next one. Peace out and stay classy.